Welcome back, guys. I am hoping this is working, although I'm not entirely sure if it is or not. It's just gone blank for some reason. There we go. Okay, I think that's working now. So yeah, welcome back, and I hope that everyone's had a good week so far. So it was a pretty good week actually for the campaign, quite an exciting one. So let's just dive into a quick recap, and hopefully people will come along as they get the opportunity. So what happened during this week's the moves this week? Excuse me. We had the coalition marching along to try and get to a central position, and the French, with a lucky roll, I should say, they gained the initiative. They struck down and tried to catch the Allies in the center of their strung out column, which they did, hitting the Russians. Unfortunately, it was bad weather, which slowed their advance across the battlefield. And then on top of that, the coalition had lucky rolls, which brought on both the Austrians and the Prussians very quickly to support them. So the French, sensing that they were now outnumbered quite drastically or would be very shortly, withdrew. In the east, we had a situation where the coalition forces had swung north to try and cut the supplies of the French. Ney was here, and we had a small, probably a couple of brigades holding Joinville. Ney's instructions were to take the town and push through. They shouldn't actually be that far over. They should be back there. To push through. So he fought a good battle, or they fought a good battle, good holding action at the town itself. Once their numbers had been depleted so much, they decided they would withdraw. They took a few casualties in the withdrawal, but they managed to get out relatively intact. Good evening, Luke. Good to see you. I'm doing pretty well, thanks, and I hope you are too. Then, once they'd been pushed back once, the French went a second time, as with the rules, to try and get the sort of series of battles in. You can move forwards up to 5 miles, and so they caught them a second time, inflicted light casualties, and they withdrew a second time. But again, French victory, so they went after them a third time, and this time heavy casualties, and they basically surrendered because they couldn't do anything more. The goal was for the coalition forces to try and extricate themselves and join up, but unfortunately they didn't make it. And in the south, we had the Austrians trying to cross at Troyes. We had the Russians throwing a pontoon bridge across the river, and the Prussians crossing the river, or trying to cross the river just down south. The Austrians pretty well repulsed. The Russian bridge operation was successful in two ways. One, the bridge was constructed, but I'd say even more importantly for them, it drew off infantry from the south. And so that allowed the Prussians, with a bit of luck as well on their behalf, the opportunity to actually break through. So now we do have Allied coalition forces on the western side of the river. As for reinforcements, French troops are still making their way slowly across the battlefield. And this turn, there are no extra reinforcements. So I think that's everything from last turn, unless anyone has any questions. Cool. So for this turn, we will get started. So we've got initiative to go first, and we've got to remember the French are +6 and the Allies gain +5. And so that's going to be a French, a French initiative this turn. That's good for them. Initiative. Cool. All the luck seems to go. Yeah, the French do need a little touch of it. As in at this stage, the game is still anyone's. It's looking tough for the French, but it could still go either way. So yeah, just need a little bit of luck, a bit of courage, and a bayonet. Oh yes, before we go too further forwards, in the comments, I think it was Mark suggested that when it comes to weather, seeing as that's the next step on the thing, we this turn roll weather as per normal. But he also suggested that at the end of today's live session, we then roll it a second time. Then that way, going forwards, when it comes to making the orders and the plans for the next turn, you guys will have foreknowledge of what the weather is going to do. So you're not kind of making a plan and then it getting screwed up by the weather. I think I've probably explained that really badly. The way he's written it in one of the comments makes a lot more sense. So I'd suggest reading his way of putting it. But yeah, we'll give that a try and see how that works out. And the other suggestion from Will, he was one that originally suggested all of the options. We just give them a percentage and roll. And then that way it adds that bit of fog of war. His suggestion was that we remove or we take out the lowest scoring option. So if there's 3 options and one of them only gets 1 to 10 and the others are basically equal, we take out the smallest one and then we're just rolling off of the 2 larger ones. And that way, instead of it all being completely random, the commander's decisions still have a bit more of a sway over a random chance, which I think makes sense. So maybe we'll give that a try for the next couple of turns as well. So unless anyone objects, that is. But I think both of those 2 options actually make a good bit of sense. So for weather, where are my dice? There they are. Cool, let's see what we're going to get this turn. We've got a 41 and it's February. Still heavy rain, unfortunately. Heavy rain. That rainstorm does not want to clear up. Morning, Will. Good to see. Good timing. Yes, just in time to get the name check. Yeah. So perfect. So that's good. And we've got bad weather. So heavy rain, not good. There's no reinforcements this turn, so that's easily done. Historical event. We're on turn 5. Retreating chaos following Beauchamp, which was on the 14th of February. Blucher's forces were forced to retreat in disarray, leaving some stragglers and supplies behind. Strategic effect: the coalition player suffers a temporary reduction in movement range -3. However, it is all rain, so it's basically they're already going to be reduced down, and faces a -1 cohesion penalty for all units simulating the disorder within Blucher's army. And seeing as he's over here, that'll be isolated to Blucher's group. French units, cool. So that's okay. So slow Lucia and -1 cohesion. Cool. And now we're on to the random events for the sidescape. For the French, we are rolling a 15 today, which is 15 misfire. 1 artillery unit experiences technical difficulties and cannot fire on a roll of a 5 or 6 in a battle. Ooh, okay. Artillery issues. Not good. Okay. I'll have to look at the Orbat and see which of the army group. I know they've got artillery. I think they've got artillery. And I think one's got artillery. So it'll be basically between these ones. We'll wait till all the movement's done. Because if they're staying together, that makes it easier. If they all separate, but then we'll roll to see which of them is having the issue. Won't they then move even slower on top of the weather? Yes, they will. So the weather is going to, I think I'll have to double check once we get to it, but I think it halves their movement, so they'll be reduced even further. So that's a benefit for the French. And yeah, cool. So yeah, that's really going to affect this group quite a lot, actually. And the French, who knows what the option is if they go to attack them. It could work out quite successfully for them. I think you are right, Luke, about the weather. Yes, you are. Cool. On to the coalition. A 17. And 17 is bravery in the ranks. 1 unit cannot be routed this battle due to a determined officer's leadership. So 1. Okay. Bravery in the ranks. If we can find a guard regiment, they can be them. Okay. So that's our random effects. Strategic movement. Here we go. Let's have a look. And I needed that other page, wherever it was, for the weather. Heavy rain. And yeah, half movement is the strategic because of the heavy rain. Half move on the strategic map. And so where are we? Infantry can usually move 12, so that's going to reduce them down to 6 miles. And then Blucher is only going to be able to go 3 miles. Okay. There we go. We got our distances sorted. So now we've got to switch over to the options. So I've already basically done the sums here. So for the, let me just get it up so that way I can read out what the different options were. Bear with me 1 second. Okie dokie. Okay, for the options, let's go to coalition turn 5 central options. So option 1 got 29%, option 2 and option 3 both got 35. So if we rule out option 1, which is what Will was suggesting, then that still makes option 2 and option 3 basically 50-50. So cool. We will find a percentile dice. And on a 1 to 50, it'll be option 2, and a 51 to 100, it'll be option 3. Okay, we've got a 12, so it's going to be option 2. Option 2, which is option 2. Forces move to a central position to cut the French from their supply line. So that kind of order puts them doing something along those lines. However, I should actually be doing the French first because they gain the initiative, but it doesn't really matter. So we know that the central group for the coalition are moving into a central position. I'm just going to work down this list. It's just easier for me. Next one is Allied turn 5 south options. So that's these chaps. Option 1 was 14%. Option 2 and option 3 were equal again. So it's going to be a 50-50. And on a 1 to 50, it'll be option 2. And it's a 73, so it's going to be option 3. And option 3 is we split our forces and send half north and half across. Okay, so option 3 for them. Okay, and if I'm not commenting on any comments that you guys make, it's purely just because I'm on another tab at the moment looking at these options, so I can't actually see what you've written, but I'll be back in a sec once we've gone through this. Turn 5 French options for the south. Okay, so option 1 was 8%, option 2 was 77%, and option 3 was 15%. So we're going to rule out option 1, leaving us 2 and 3. And east, which then makes, okay, here we go. Wait, what's this? French south. Oh, I'm looking on the wrong side. There we go. Cool. We've rolled a 0, 0, 0, 0. That's 0, isn't it? So that's an 8. Okay, so that's going to be option 2. Okay, so option 2 is all forces head north to link up with central. So the French are going to be withdrawing up this road to try and get to a more central position, and the Allies are going to be sending half of their forces in that direction, pursuing them, and the other half straight west. Okay, so that's quite interesting. Next is coalition east option. So coalition east, this is Blucher over here, and they had 4 options, and option 4 was the lowest on 14. Then it was 21 for option 3, 36 for option 2, and 29 for option 1. Okay, so let's roll. Okay, we've rolled a 60, 62. So that's going to be option 2. And so option 2 is forces move to the center, and if possible, will attack Napoleon. So they're going to be sort of heading in over in this direction. Okay. And someone try and remember these things because I will have to keep flicking backwards and forwards. I said option 2. Okay, and then finally we've got French East, which is Ney, and he's rolled up 33. Option 1 is the lowest on 7%. Okay, French East 37. So that's going to be option 2 anyway. And option 2 is Ney marches to link up with Napoleon. So we're going to have, in effect, we're going to have Ney heading in that direction. We're going to have the Prussians heading in that direction. We're going to have the French heading in that direction. We're going to have half of the coalition that way and the other half heading in that direction. We've got these guys moving in that direction. And then we just need Napoleon central options. Okay, so option 1 got 0%, so we'll just rule that one out. And the others, we'll just roll straight off for them. And we've rolled a 27. So that's an option 3. Option 3. Cool. Attack the main enemy force in the center. Cool, so we've got the French under Napoleon just coming straight in for an attack on the coalition. Interesting. Cool. Sorry, guys. Now I'll get back to you and look at all of your comments. What have you made? Hopefully no battles then. French won the initiative. Split the forces. Well done, the French. Good man. Okay. Welcome, John. Good to have you with us again. Now, that was probably more complicated than it needed to be, but at least we now know where we're sitting. So just to recap, we've got French with initiative. So they'll be able to go first. We've got Blucher, who is suffering supply and organizational issues. We've got Ney, who's been ordered to try and link up with the French forces in the center. We've got Napoleon, who's been ordered to fall upon the coalition. Blucher to try and attack Napoleon. Coalition to try and get to the center. The French to withdraw to the sort of central position, and half of the allies will be going after them and half heading over towards towards Paris, sorry. Well, it looks like a big fight in the mud. Yeah, okay. So let's figure this out now. French have the initiative, so they're going to get to go first. Let's start off in the easy one, which is down here. Okay, so it's going to be a half move, and they usually go 12 miles. So that's going to be, so just reaching across the camera. So it's going to basically be about 3 today. Okay, so the French get to about there. The Allies will be, okay, Allied player, do we think that it should be these 2 Southern Corps who are the 2 who are heading over in that direction, and the 2 Northerly Austrian Corps who are heading north? I think that makes the most sense, but we can either leave it to you guys or we can roll a dice. But just logically, I think that makes the most sense. If you just have a quick think about that. Over here, we're going to have, if it's free for the regular move. So yeah, okay, these guys are going to basically move that much. They're barely moving at all. I'm just going to put them on top of each other. Whilst Ney's troops are going to be going to about there. And Napoleon is attacking. So again, this one's probably more directed at Luke, but also anyone who is playing as French. Should Napoleon be aiming to fall upon the front of the column, bearing in mind they're marching to the center again, or should he be trying to fall on the rear and link up with Ney at the same time? I'll give you a quick second for that one. Cool. No one's commented on this side, so I'll just go ahead and do what I suggested, and that's that these guys are going to move there free. And we'll have the Russians and Prussians moving south. And we'll have the Austrians kind of moving in a northerly direction. In the south, do the northern forces catch the French? Do the northern forces catch the French on? No, they're just going to be slightly short, unfortunately. Rear in the south. Cool. And so, okay, cool. So I think that's that. So we want these guys to catch them. So in that case, they're going to be moving their distance along the road. As Napoleon then falls upon them. Okay. Now, speed march, force marches. I think it's going to be beneficial for most here to try and do that. I would say Ney. I don't think he's going to be close enough, to be honest, but he can attempt it just to try and catch up with the rest of the force. So let's give that a try. Cool. D4. What do I need? I need a D10. Where is it? Oh, I've got it right in my hand. Cool. Here we go. French. Roll a 0, which is a 10. So cool. So he gets to go. And it's going to be another 3 because it's heavy rain. So they're not going to be able to do much more than that. But basically that's okay. Well, I guess them a bit closer. Technically, I guess you could say they're now in supply again. So that's beneficial. In the south, do the northern forces. No, sorry, already read that. Cool. I guess we'll try and get the march in for the French over there. And they've rolled an 8, so yep, they get it again. No. Okay. Napoleon's not going to need it. Now, coalition players, now the option to you. Do you want your armies to attempt to force march? Again, I would say it makes sense to do so because the Austrians are possibly able to catch this second corps. And I'm pretty sure that second corps was the reserve corps who got pretty badly mauled last turn. So definitely worthwhile, I would say, trying to get them to force march. These guys couldn't hurt trying. Well, I mean, technically it could because they could lose cohesion just due to the effort of the march, but up to you. And also in the center, do you want them to try and force march? And you want Blucher to attempt it as well? I'll just leave that for you guys to quickly comment. Cool. All right. In that case, as no one's commented, I will definitely try for the Austrians because I think that just makes a lot of sense. Let's have a look. Cool. They've rolled a 10. Okay, so they get to march with no issues. So that's going to be 3. Cool. So yeah, they do catch up. Cool. And Luke, is Blucher's movement still delayed even on force? Yes. Yep. His whole movement will just be halved due to that effect. Basically, everything's been disorganized. The baggage trains have got mixed up with the infantry and the cavalry, and just everything's become a complete mess. Not to mention the heavy rain for this turn and last turn. It's just a complete mess for them. So yeah, everything's delayed. Cool. So we're going to have one engagement here, unless the French decide to withdraw. Even if they do, they stay put. In the center, I guess it doesn't really matter too much because they will get caught either way by the French. So we will just ignore that for now. And probably for withdraw in the south. Yep. Yeah, okay. We'll try and withdraw from that one rather than fight a pitch battle. If we do have to fight a pitch battle, I think the Guard are going to have to come back and try and help out. Cool. So I think that's pretty well that. French players, you got your reinforcements. Are we wanting them to come more centrally or more southerly now? Since the situation has changed somewhat since they set out from Paris. I'll just quickly try and find out what we've got in both of those groups. Just bear with me whilst I get up the order of battle sheet. Where is it? Reinforcements. So in this group here, that's just artillery, and in the forward group, we've got 2 line infantry. Okay, continue to the center. Yep, half for the French. Cool. Okay, cool. So I'll just leave that a second, but okay, we'll carry on moving. Centrally, they're not going to go too fast. They're going to be going 3 because of the weather anyway. Okay, so 3 gets them just to there. And 3 gets them to there. Slow going. It's all turned in one move. The coalition force split and outnumbered. I know. Yeah, it's quite interesting how this actually keeps changing backwards and forwards. Also, if the Guard can unite in the south, then stand fine. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. That's an interesting one. Yeah, if they can kind of yeah, will be interesting to see what happens here. And that battle, that will be interesting because they're falling on the Prussians at the rear. The Prussians are probably out of the three groups the weakest. Then the next ones up would be the Russians coming back, who are the second weakest. And then at some point towards the end of the battle, you'll get the Austrians who will catch up. So could work in the, but who knows? French reinforcement. Okay, so John, you want the French reinforcements to go south, and Luke, you're suggesting they come to the center. So what we will do is roll and see. So 1, 2, or 3, and or we could split them. I don't really see there's much point in that. I think it needs to all go one way personally, but yeah, we'll go 1, 2, or 3. They'll head down, and 4, 5, 6. They'll keep going center. 6. Okay, so they'll keep going to the center this turn. But you never know. Next turn, orders may change. I moved them, didn't I? Yeah, so I don't need to do anything about that. Cool. I'm not counting chickens yet. Things have turned in one battle before. Yeah, it's true. Okay, so that is our position. What battles are we fighting? So we've got in the Western theatre, we've got the Austrians versus the French, who are going to try. French attempt to withdraw. Cool. And the center, we have Napoleon versus Prussians, Russians, Austrians. Cool. And in the east, we've got nothing going on. Okay, so that makes it easier. And add to this, so I just read the comments again. Oh no, lol. Add to this, Ney is across the supply lines, even if he does not attack. Yeah, so that's good for Ney. He'll be able to get supplies again, which he does need. He was pretty badly cut off there. And after his little series of battles down here, they were suffering. So good news to slap on the walls of Paris. As for the coalition, yeah, it's interesting how it's just changed sort of all of a sudden. But hey, fog of war. So that's quite interesting. And yeah, this I always say at every turn, and pretty well every campaign, I'm like, oh, this could be the turn that decides it. This could be the turn that decides it. But this turn could be the turn that decides it, depending on what happens in the center there. And we've got the French who are starting to unite. And if they can break this force, which is the biggest chunk of Allied forces, yeah, the game could be theirs. So very exciting, actually. Do any of you guys have any further questions, suggestions, or any other comments to make at this stage? Is there anything that you've seen that I've missed? I don't believe I have, but it's possible. John, I was thinking of not consolidating a larger force in the center and hopefully pick off piecemeal the southern forces. Done their job delaying the river trust. Yeah, I think in the south you're right there. They did a pretty good job actually holding those areas for several turns. So, well, actually they started back here, didn't they? And then a few turns they've gone back. So, yeah, they have held those coalition troops up very nicely. So interesting. And although Ney initially, I was a bit skeptical about his assault going down, I think again that's tied up these troops quite nicely who haven't really been able to do anything. It's kind of been that sort of cat and mouse game, trying to outfox each other. So that's worked quite nicely actually to the French's benefit. And now they've managed to get this spurt, so they're kind of leaving them behind. Very interesting. I mean consolidating rather than not consolidating. Oh yes, cool. So yeah, I think that pretty well sums up this turn. But yeah, very exciting and looking forward to a few of these battles. But yeah, thank you very much to all of you guys for taking part. I really enjoy the comments section. That makes it very interesting for me, especially because it's even like fog of war for me as the person who tries to come up with all the bits and pieces, and then you throw out these things and I'm like, yeah, that's an awesome idea. Let's do it. So just for a quick update for next week. Oh yes, sorry. One thing that I do need to do was Mark's suggestion on the weather. So going forwards, what he said just is that at the end of the live session, we roll for the weather for the next turn, and then that way you guys will know what the weather is going to be when you get the options, so to speak. So again, I can't really say it the way that he wrote it because it's not in front of me, but the way he said it makes a heck of a lot of sense. So I would say if you can, just scroll through and read his comments. So let's find out what the weather is going to be in the following turn. It's going to be an 82. Ooh, 82, what is that? It's in February. Clear skies. Okay, so next turn will be clear skies. It's still going to be the equivalent of light rain on the roads for movement because of the fact that everything kind of got screwed up with the heavy rain, but clear skies as far as battles. So that's interesting. And the light rain is in travel. Travel. Cool. All right, so that's does that piece for next turn. And yeah, I think that pretty well sums us all up today, guys. But yeah, sunny weather, just what the French... Yeah, they do. Yeah, depending on what happens here. Anyway, I'm not going to say it again because I always say it. But I think that is it for this turn. So thank you all for participating, and I hope that you have a great weekend. And I'll get these battles fought and get the report out to you mid next week, I would say. But yeah, thanks very much. Thanks, Luke. And I hope that you all have a great weekend. Oh yeah, sorry. The last thing I was going to say is next week is going to be slightly different because next week will be fine. I'll do the live same time next week. It's the following week I'm going to be away getting married, so I won't be doing live for the following then about for 2 weeks after that because I'll be getting married, then on honeymoon, so all of that sort of stuff. But I'll talk about that next week. But I will see you next Friday. So have a good weekend and take care. Thanks, Luke.